Hello, hello, my good people. How are we doing today? Good. Are we sure about that? Okay. Well, it definitely feels like a reunion coming back here. Not so long ago, I was attending ECC Paris as a member of the Celo team. So I feel very fortunate and just so happy to be back here among so many friendly faces. This time, to share a little bit about a new data primitive, or a data primitive that not so many people might be familiar with. So today, I am coming to you from Disco.xyz. I lead ecosystem partnerships over there, and we are all about identity. You know, we believe that you are just as unique as a disco ball, and that is how you should show up to every space that you are at, whether that is an in-person event, an app that you're participating in when you connect a wallet, and you know, it shouldn't just be about what's in your wallet, what kind of assets you have, what financial value you hold to your name. Okay, let's get going, guys. That's me. We missed that one. We're gonna just keep going. All right, so we're gonna get a little personal here, just as I feel like you guys are my family. So when I was growing up, I really wanted to work on Wall Street. That to me seemed super appealing. There is a lot of power, there's a lot of money. It's a very exciting place to be. And I just realized that that was very limiting, that the financial systems that we have are currently pretty limited. The ceiling on innovation, how fast things can change, who can participate in this system was limited. And growing up right outside of DC, bureaucracy just wasn't really for me. And it was limiting in the way that I, Masha Healy, could interact. Don't get me wrong, I can rock a pantsuit. I can do the corporate speak, and I love a good spreadsheet. But disco balls and neon is just so much more fun and so much more me. So that's why in 2018, I said, skirt, and I started working in crypto. Shout out to Dina in the audience for my first job. And you know, maybe the joke is on me, because if we look at the crypto landscape right now, it's looking a lot like Wall Street in a way, rug pulls included, except maybe without some of the power, money, and prestige. Try telling your family you work in crypto, and I don't think you're gonna get the same wonderful response you would if you told them that you're hanging out on Wall Street. Don't worry, we are still early, and not a lot has changed in that cash rules everything around us. So part of the problem with this ecosystem is that we are limited in the game pieces that we are currently using. We are limited in the behaviors that they incentivize and the short life cycles of those behaviors. You know, the people that we can have participate in this ecosystem is limited by who has a wallet, by who can manage private keys. Individuals who, to have a wallet, to fund a wallet, you need to have government IDs, extra money, and crypto is something that most people interact with out of extreme need or extreme wealth for most parts. And you know, shout out to Celo for really trying and doing its best to participate in changing that narrative and putting action towards that narrative. And we have to increase how many users and how many people we can have participate in these new systems. And that's what everybody has been talking about on all the panels. So how do we do that? The way that we do that is by accessing everything that makes us human, fun, and interesting, and bringing them into these interactions that we participate in. And the most important part is that we do this in a safe and compliant way, because the more personal we get, the more fun we can have, but also potentially the more harm we can do. So long story short, we need ways to interact that don't require money and that allow us to show up as our full selves. So this is the world that we live in now. We have NFTs, we have chains, we have on-chain attestations, we are on-chain. And this is everything that we are missing out on that is off-chain, and that could make our interactions and life in this crypto world a lot more fun. So Again, as I mentioned, the future is on-chain. We want more things to be on-chain. But a little caveat that I have before we go further is that the future is on-chain, but is this legal and compliant? So to that iceberg meme, if we started putting very sensitive information about ourselves on chain, we might find ourselves in a little bit of a compromising position, right? If I'm putting my social security number, my home address, and it's on a very permanent, very legible, ledger, might not end up too well. So we want to access all the data that is unfit for the chain and find ways to interact with the technology that we see, freeing us from some of the limits that we're hitting right now. As we all know, your wallet represents a collection of token IDs mapped to it, which are public and financial assets. You are not your job, you are not how much money you have in the bank, you are not the car that you drive. Your traits and your personalities are not permanent, and your private experiences can't be available for sale to the highest bidder. At Disco, we are really excited about informed consent in the Web3 experiences by using verifiable credentials as a new game piece to interact with smart contracts, alongside your fungible tokens, your NFTs, and to unlock the universe of data that we can bring to smart contract interactions. Meet credentials. In your data backpack, which is what we reference as to this item that can hold all the wonderful things about you, you carry verifiable credentials that are encrypted against your private keys, signed attestations, JSON blobs for those who are a little bit more technical, and like a diploma, these things are always about you. What you have in your backpack belongs to you. They are revocable, they can expire. This can be used for things like event tickets, receipts, proof of purchase, proof of attendance, your social security number, your home address. It is limitless in what you can put in a verifiable credential. You can use your existing private keys to sign data written about a user that can be owned and controlled by that person. So now I'm also in the position of power to be able to say things about my friends as well. And just because your keys come from a chain doesn't mean that you have to use a blockchain to communicate with your keys. So these credentials can be controlled and signed with those existing keys, but they don't live on a public blockchain. Rather, they live wherever you want to store them. So as it's mobile day, you can store credentials on your phone, you can store credentials in a database, you can store credentials anywhere. And so they are very flexible. You are not limited in where you can put this information. But the important part is that this information can be verified wherever they are stored. So this right here is what a credential looks like. So we at Disco have a GM credential, which is similar to a Facebook-style poke, which you can send to your friends on Disco, app.disco.xyz. And here you can see there's the issuer of the credential, and the subject of the credential as well. So who is issuing the credential and who is receiving the credential when it was issued. The expanded version there includes the JSON blob, which was mentioned, so everything that you are saying about the person in this credential. Alrighty, so we are just we're getting a little close on time, I think, how are we doing? We're good? Okay, so just quick basics here. Here are your tokens. They live on-chain. Verifiable credentials are JSON blobs, which just means a file, signed attestations, and they live off-chain. They are consent first, which means you opt in to displaying and showing the information in the credential to the rest of the world, unlike NFTs that can just spam your inbox. I'm sure if any of you check your wallet, you might find some nice little spam NFTs that kind of crowd your life. And just aren't necessarily how you would like to represent yourself. Whereas with credentials, that control is in your hands. Verifiable credentials can expire. They are revocable, and they can also be valid forever. It just depends on how you choose to issue them. Unlike tokens, which are immutable and are accessible to everyone on Earth that just has access to your wallet address. You don't have to pay gas to issue verifiable credentials, and so that really opens up the ability to track, or not to track, but to keep an eye on many different kinds of actions that are a lot more granular than perhaps issuing NFTs. So if you're issuing NFTs, you might be limited by gas fees, what chain a user is on, but with credentials, you can issue credentials to any address on any chain, and they will land in the user's data backpack. As I mentioned, they are not chain specific, so as we live in a multi-chain world, and there are more chains and more rollups, these credentials can be pulled into those interactions as well. Okay. You cannot transfer credentials. These things are unique to you and to the user that they've been issued to. Now, here is where it gets fun. So verifiable credentials can be used to access permission controls on smart contracts. So you can gate access to smart contract interactions with credentials, just like you can gate a Telegram chat with credentials, you can gate Google Documents with credentials, and the fun really kind of starts to begin. All right. So here's a quick summary of where we're at between the difference between fungible and non-fungible tokens and then verifiable credentials. And so the games that you can play on chain are, treasury allocation, OpenSea management, run around with your NFTs, and you can participate in the DeFi ecosystem, which is a very important ecosystem. But we want to create experiences that are more compelling for different users, for users who might not be LPs or might not be interested in swapping tokens. And that is why we want to leverage verifiable credentials to open the funnel on those interactions by bringing in more consequential information about the users who are interacting with your apps and your dApps. So this is a call to Web3 builders to make your users owners, give them more to do than buy, sell, and stake, and allow them to share personal information in a legally compliant way, and use that information to customize their experiences and interactions based on those preferences. So identity has to be a priority right now, especially with the rise of AI. We are seeing more and more information that we don't know if it's accurate or not, and verifiable credentials is a way for us to be able to say that this is about the person, this is from the person that we think it is from. So to kind of make a full loop, to make a long story short, for me personally, looking back, traditional finance felt like a box. And it was the beginning of unplugging myself from the matrix by being me, Masha Healy, interacting in a unique and genuine way. Not funneled into someone else's design for me, whether that's a large financial institution, a government, Mark Zuckerberg, or to be totally honest, pump and dump crypto scams. On its best day, leveraging all the game pieces, cryptography, not crypto, cryptography, allows us to build new systems that are permissionless and privacy and consent first. It eliminates barriers to entry by not requiring funds to start interacting, has the ability to solve real-world problems at scale that are not constrained by gas fees, and most importantly, what we care about at Disco, can provide users with better experiences by allowing them to bring their whole selves to the party. We will not fit 1 billion users through the eye of a needle. We need to make crypto accessible by allowing them to come in from all directions, and the best way to do that is with a party, and potentially with a disco. So this is what your data backpack looks like. You're able to attest to things about yourself, whether you like light mode, dark mode, communities that you're a part of with membership credentials issued by those communities. And there's really a lot that you can do, and definitely go ahead and check it out and make yourself a data backpack. And then for today, you can claim your attendance credential just by scanning this QR code and create your data backpack. Definitely need some Wi-Fi for this, so I'll leave this here. Thank you so much for everybody's attention, and would love to hear what resonated with you guys afterwards. Thank you so much.